Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on Captain Clyde's MTG. And we have, I guess, brand new core and base sets. So before we get into it, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We get to 1,000 peeps. We're going to run out some freebies, giveaways, all that good jazz. And as we hit our milestones moving forward, we'll continue to do so on the channel. So we got some stuff to get into. So let's start this TED Talk. So, on Foundations, some of the cards that's going to be in this new core style set is going to be Llanowar Elves. That's right. The elf that was so powerful they stopped printing it into Standard is now going to be part of Standard. Makes perfect sense. I mean, it does harken back for me of the days of yore when I used to play when Llanowar Elf was everywhere in Standard and so forth and so on. It was just part of it. I kind of like this back in Standard, but we're going to have to see how it's going to fail. Fair. Anyway, how it's going to fare moving forward as in a new environment where stuff is a lot more powerful. Is it still the powerful enabler that it was? And if it is, do we have what it takes to deal with it so that, green decks don't get out of hand again? Because, Jesus Christ, this thing's annoying sometimes. Anyway. Another card shown to be in the Foundations is going to be Anthems of Champions. Very interesting. Creatures you control get +1/+1 for a green and a white. So it's kind of a cross between a Bad Moon and a Crusade. Crusade's 3 mana. Bad Moon is... No, wait, Crusade's 2 mana? Anyway, Bad Moon was 2 mana, black and 1. Crusade was... I think Crusade was still 3, but it may have been 2. But this is a +1/+1 for everything, not just a certain color. But it is a multicolor card for green and white. Does make it really good for token decks, just going to say. But whether or not it's going to be as powerful as it used to be, we're going to have to wait to see. I mean, because until we know what else is in the Foundations deck, we really won't know how powerful this is as a format card. Next in Foundations, we have a Day of Judgment reprint. So we don't get Wrath of God, we get Day of Judgment, which is the same thing, except it can't kill things that regenerate, which regeneration hasn't been a thing in a very long time. I don't think they're going to bring it back anymore, so, I mean, that's fine, I guess. But yeah, just kind of weird they chose Day of Judgment instead of Wrath of God. I mean, maybe that has something to do with all this shenanigans going around about cards that hurt people's feelings and words and people who need a safe place. I don't know. But we got a 4 mana Wrath again with no drawbacks. So that's something very powerful we haven't had in Standard in a long time. And kind of feels like we're going back to the days of yore. Elves, Wraths of God, Crusades. Memories. Sweet, sweet memories. Anyway. Sorry, moving on. Next, we have Omniscience. This is a interesting include in a base set. I don't remember if it was in a core set before. It might have been, but as a 10 mana spell, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's a very powerful card. People like it. It's worth some money. But being in a set that's going to be the base set for quite a while, we'll get into that later. This is a very interesting choice of cards. But yeah, I mean, more the merrier, I guess. I mean, it's a mythic. Moving on, the other card we have is 9 Lives Familiar. This one I thought was very interesting. It's 2 black and 1 for a 1/1 cat. The creature enters the battlefield with 8 revival counters on it if you cast it. Now, when the creature dies, if it had a revival counter on it, you return to the battlefield with 1 fewer counter on it at the beginning of your next end step. Oh, my lord. So, for 3 mana, you get this 1/1 that can die, chump block, whatever, 9 times. 8 times. Sorry. 8 times. 9 times. 9 times if you count when it comes to, anyway. Math is hard. Let's not get into it. It's a cat. 9 lives, 9 times. So let's not just go there. It's cool play on words and themes and what have you. So very interesting. 3 mana may not be enough for something like this, especially in weird combo decks that you want to sack creatures in. Since it does come back for free, it's not legendary. You can have multiple of these on the board that just keep coming back in groups. Probably going to be a very good card for those old aristocrat builds that like to sack their creatures, because you can literally sack it, bring it back at the end of the turn, sack it again, and get it back at the end of the next turn, and so forth and so on, and whatever. Yeah, so I like the card. I really hope it doesn't start some kind of weird, powerful loop mana thing. I mean, because if you blink it, it doesn't come in with revival counters on it. So, because it says the creature enters with 8 revival counters on it if you cast it. When the creature dies, if it had revival counters on it, you put it back into play. So if it just comes into play without being cast, you actually lose the revival counters. So you don't want to blink this creature. So keep that in mind. Unless they errata it, because it might not be broken enough as it is, but whatever. So, with all that said, old Llanowar here. It'll be in local game stores worldwide throughout the MTG Arena as well. You'll get some more of the upsides of this upcoming set. It's slated to release November 15th of 2024, so end of the year. Interesting things about this set that I know. So I did do some research because there's not a lot of it out there. The Foundation set is meant to be a core set to help gauge people into the game. Much like starter decks or what have you. And meant to be a kind of core set like we had before, except this set is going to be legal for 5 years before it's changed. That is a lot. Now, in that 5 years, this is a print-to-demand set. So, if you think you're going to scoop up all this stuff because it's good for 5 years and then resell it and charge people more money, well, you might be able to, but anybody who's worth their salt or has even read the internet, which is probably going to be everybody, will know this is a print-to-demand set that is legal for 5 years, that they will keep printing with no end in sight, and will only stop printing when no one wants to buy it. So it's a very weird dynamic. That means there's going to be no supply and demand, because there's just going to be a whole bunch of supply until there's no demand, which means it'll be useless and worthless to some degree. Now, this could be some weird thing that they do to make a cheaper version of draft, and drafting sealed formats that are cheaper, so you have to use these, yada, yada, yada. There's lots of ways they can go. We don't know yet. But this set being printed demand for 5 years really means there's not going to be a whole lot of demand for the cards in this set. In my personal opinion, eventually the cards in this set will be almost worth nothing, because everybody will eventually have them or be able to get boxes of this to open, because the prices will eventually plummet to a place where nobody will buy them and nobody will want to order them because nobody's buying them, meaning they'll sell off whatever's left at a really good discount for some people, but then no one will buy them until someone gives them money up front, because why would you pay $100 for something you know you're going to have to discount down to $80? I'm not saying it's $100, far be it from me, but you get the idea that's behind that. So there is a rumor there will be collector boxes with this. The collector boxes will not be print to demand. They will be a one and done like all collector boxes. Again, depending how they're done, they may be valuable or worthless. Seeing as this is a 5-year set that you can very easily get the cards for, so they're going to have to do some kind of weird thing with the collector boxes to make people want to buy them. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in the end. Am I glad they're doing this? Kind of, sort of. I liked core sets. What I didn't like was their rotation. At the same time, 5 years for one core set. It's going to make the cards cheap and easy to play. So, that'll get people in there. But there's going to have to be something in this set that you can open to give you some kind of rush or a dopamine hit, some kind of thrill, or there's no point to opening this when you could open any of the other sets that come out that will give you that are not print to demand. So we'll have to see how it goes, but buckle up, Buttercup, because they're here to stay, at least until they decide they're not, I guess. So until next time, be kind, and as always, I hope to see you across from the game table.